The Great Pyramid of Khufu here at Giza is the culmination of hundreds of years of trial and error in pyramid building. But it's not only the perfect shape, it's the largest ever built.
History tells us ancient civilizations relied on simple tools and limited technology. But across the world stand structures so advanced that engineers still debate how they were built. In this countdown, we'll explore 8 of history's strangest constructions using archaeological discoveries, engineering studies, and modern scientific analysis. From colossal stone platforms to cities carved directly into mountains, these remarkable sites reveal skills that seem almost impossible for their time and may completely change how you see the ancient world. 8. Baalbek. In Lebanon's Bekaa Valley stands Baalbek, a place so massive that it has inspired stories of giants, lost knowledge, and forgotten machines. At first glance, the site appears to be a grand Roman temple complex, yet beneath the columns and ruined walls lies the real mystery. A platform built from some of the largest stone blocks ever used in ancient construction. The most famous are 3 enormous stones known as the trilithon. Each weighs roughly 800 tons. They sit several meters above ground, placed side by side with such care that their joints remain remarkably tight. Even modern engineers look at them with disbelief. Moving 1 block of that size is difficult today. Moving 3 across uneven land, raising them, and setting them into a wall without powered cranes seems almost beyond reason. The puzzle becomes even stranger in a nearby quarry. There, unfinished stones remain partly attached to the bedrock, showing where Baalbek's builders cut their material. 1 block, often called the Stone of the Pregnant Woman, is estimated to weigh around 1,000 tons. Another discovered nearby may weigh close to 1,650 tons. These stones were shaped but never moved, perhaps because flaws appeared in the rock, or because the builders realized the blocks were too heavy to transport safely. Their presence gives archaeologists valuable evidence, but it also deepens the mystery. If workers planned to use stones this large, what system did they have in mind? Ropes, rollers, wooden sledges, packed earth ramps, and large labor teams are the most accepted explanations. Yet, no full-scale test has shown exactly how the heaviest blocks could have been moved and lifted into place. For centuries, local legends claimed Baalbek was built by giants or supernatural beings. Some later writers connected it to biblical figures, ancient gods, or vanished civilizations. These stories are dramatic, but archaeologists have found no evidence of giant builders or unknown advanced machines. The strongest evidence points to skilled human workers, careful planning, and Roman engineering methods. Researchers believe the platform was developed in stages, with the largest placed stones likely dating to the Roman period. The quarry marks, tool traces, and unfinished blocks all support ordinary stone-cutting techniques carried out on an extraordinary scale. Still, accepted explanations do not solve every detail. Experts can describe how ancient builders might have reduced friction, spread weight, and used ramps, but the exact process was never recorded. No surviving plan explains the labor force, lifting system, or sequence used for the trilithon. What survives is not fantasy, but evidence of patience, manpower, mathematics, and confidence on a scale. Baalbek forces us to question how ancient builders moved stones that challenge modern machines. Yet the next place didn't just move giant rocks. It carried an entire city to the top of a mountain, where it somehow still survives earthquakes after centuries. 7. Machu Picchu. Perched nearly 8,000 feet over the sea level in the Peruvian Andes, Machu Picchu kinda looks like it doesn't really belong there, like it fights both nature and plain common sense. Steep cliffs ring the ancient place, while thin mountain ridges keep leaving almost no space for building. Thick clouds wander through the high peaks, hiding the ruins, then showing them again a few moments later, like a slow trick. Honestly, it's hard enough to picture moving food and supplies to somewhere this out of the way. But somehow the Inca managed to move thousands of carefully shaped stones up those mountains without carts or metal tools. Every terrace, stairway, and shrine had to rise on shaky ground where heavy rains and earthquakes kept pushing at the land. One small mistake could set off landslides that would wipe out the whole settlement. Instead, the builders somehow turned one of the roughest locations in all of South America into a bustling city that has lasted for centuries after it was finished. What really amazes archaeologists isn't just where Machu Picchu was put together, it's also how they managed to make it keep standing and last. The Incas worked with a stone-joining approach so tightly done that a lot of the walls didn't really need mortar or any at all. Big blocks were carved, then made to match one another with this almost unreal precision, and the result is that there are very few gaps left behind. When earthquakes hit, those stones can nudge a little along with the ground's motion. Then, once things calm down, they settle back into alignment, without everything breaking apart. That kind of springy arrangement has let many structures survive repeated tremors that would have ended most regular buildings long ago. Under the part you can see, there is another impressive achievement. Scientists and researchers think that a surprising share of the engineering is actually tucked underground. There are drainage channels built with care, stone bases laid out deliberately, plus layers of crushed rock, all of it working together to pull rainwater away from the buildings and stop the slope from turning unstable. If those less visible systems had not existed, all those centuries of wet weather might have made the whole settlement slide down the mountainside. Honestly, the concealed engineering can be just as remarkable as the well-known temples above it, maybe even more in a quiet way. Even after decades of research, one question still kind of hangs there. Why was Machu Picchu built in the first place? A lot of historians think it worked as a royal estate for the Inca ruler Pachacuti, more like a calm retreat surrounded by scenery that almost feels unreal. Other people insist that the temples, the sacred stones, and even the carefully planned layout, all of that together means it was a major religious center where ceremonies were held, honoring the gods and those surrounding mountains. Still, other researchers point at how certain buildings seem to line up with the sun during key seasonal moments, so the place may also have acted as an astronomical observatory, keeping track of what the sky was doing. But none of these thoughts really covers everything, not every corner or detail. So many experts now believe Machu Picchu kind of blended all those functions into one unusual place. It could have been a royal residence, a sacred refuge, and a site for sky watching all at once. Whatever the true purpose was, one thing stays clear. Machu Picchu keeps showing that the Inca had engineering skills far ahead of what many people once assumed was possible, leaving behind a city in the mountains that still refuses to fall apart. Baalbek forces us to question how ancient builders moved stones that challenge modern machines. But the next one takes the mystery even higher, an entire city built on a mountain ridge, engineered to survive earthquakes, heavy rain, and centuries of isolation. 6. Great Pyramid of Giza. For more than 4,500 years, the Great Pyramid of Giza has dominated the Egyptian desert, standing as one of humanity's greatest engineering achievements. Built during the reign of Pharaoh Khufu, it originally rose about 481 feet into the sky, making it the tallest structure on Earth for nearly 4,000 years. Its enormous size alone inspires awe, but its precision is what truly astonishes researchers. The pyramid is aligned with true north so accurately that the error is only a tiny fraction of a degree. Long before modern surveying equipment existed, ancient builders somehow positioned this massive monument with remarkable accuracy. Its square base is almost perfectly level, while each side closely matches the others in length. These measurements continue to amaze engineers because even small mistakes would have become enormous problems across such a gigantic structure. Instead, the finished monument displays planning and mathematical skill that still commands respect today. The mystery deepens when the construction itself is examined. The Great Pyramid contains an estimated 2.3 million stone blocks, most weighing several tons, while some granite beams inside the king's chamber weigh more than 50 tons each. Limestone came from nearby quarries, but the heavy granite was transported from Aswan, hundreds of miles to the south. Archaeologists believe workers used sledges, ramps, ropes, and carefully organized labor crews rather than slaves, yet the exact techniques remain debated. Numerous ramp theories have been proposed, including straight ramps, spiral ramps, and internal ramp systems, but none has answered every question. Raising massive granite beams high into the pyramid with consistent precision remains particularly difficult to explain. Ancient inscriptions reveal impressive organization and skilled craftsmanship, but no surviving document provides a complete step-by-step account of how every stage of construction was accomplished. The pyramid therefore remains one of archaeology's greatest puzzles, where accepted explanations solve many details but leave several important questions unanswered. Modern technology has revealed that the Great Pyramid may still hold secrets waiting to be uncovered. Instead of digging through its walls, researchers now use advanced scanning methods that allow them to study the monument without causing damage. In recent years, scientists using cosmic ray imaging detected large hidden voids deep within the structure, including a mysterious chamber-like space above the Grand Gallery. The purpose of these empty spaces remains unknown. They could reduce weight, hide unfinished passages, or lead to areas never explored. Researchers continue mapping the pyramid with thermal imaging, laser surveys, and other non-invasive techniques, hoping to understand its hidden design. Every new discovery reminds the world that the Great Pyramid is far more than an ancient tomb. It is a masterpiece of engineering whose greatest mysteries may still lie concealed behind solid stone. Even after thousands of years of study, Egypt's impossible blueprint continues challenging everything we think we know about the ancient world. 5. Kailasa Temple. Most ancient monuments were built by stacking one stone upon another, slowly rising toward the sky as each new layer was added. Kailasa Temple in Ellora, India, followed a completely different path. Instead of building upward, its creators carved downward into a solid volcanic rock hillside, transforming an entire mountain into a magnificent temple. The project began at the top, where workers carefully removed layer after layer of stone until the structure hidden inside gradually emerged. Historians estimate that roughly 200,000 tons of rock were excavated during the process. That staggering amount would challenge modern construction equipment, yet ancient craftsmen accomplished it using simple hand tools, patience, and extraordinary skill. Every strike had to be deliberate, because there was no way to replace stone once it had been removed. One serious mistake could have permanently damaged the temple, making this one of the boldest engineering projects ever attempted in the ancient world. When visitors walk through the Kailasa Temple today, the whole planning feels almost overwhelming, in a way that is hard to put into words. Massive columns hold up the hall, and the carved work looks so calm and precise. Stairways connect the different levels with a symmetry that seems almost unreasonably clean. Stone bridges stretch between sections that look as if they were built separately, yet they still match, and somehow they stay part of the same continuous rock formation. Almost every surface has detailed statues of gods, guardians, elephants, and mythical creatures, like the place refuses to stay plain for even a moment. Shrines, courtyards, gateways, and towering walls all came out of the mountain itself, not as if someone assembled them one by one or in a hurry. Every feature had to be pictured in advance before excavation even started. If they removed too much stone in one spot, it could ruin the surrounding parts, and that would have been a disaster. So the architects and craftsmen needed to think several steps ahead the entire time. Instead of crafting individual pieces and then fitting them together later, they kind of revealed the finished monument by subtracting everything that did not belong. It feels less like constructing a temple and more like uncovering something that had already been there, sitting inside the mountain the whole time. People argue about Kailasa Temple more for the how long than the how pretty, honestly. Even if it looks unreal, the real question is how much time it took and when. A lot of historians link its construction to the Rashtrakuta king Krishna I in the 8th century, but later folks almost certainly kept adding decorative layers and also some repairs. Usual traditional estimates say that the main excavation might have been wrapped up in only a few decades, not centuries or whatever. Engineers get hooked on that idea because it would mean removing huge amounts of stone, day after day, all while keeping an astonishing precision. Like somehow the tolerances were never missed. Some researchers think a big, well-coordinated crew working without stop could have pulled it off. But others go the opposite way and say the whole thing probably stretched far longer than the early timelines propose, involving multiple generations, steadily continuing over time instead of rushing through it. No one can be fully sure about the exact schedule since the surviving historical records are thin. Still, what archaeologists do agree on is this: Kailasa Temple is an incredible feat of planning, labor, and imagination. Whether it finished in 20 years or took many more, the outcome keeps poking at our assumptions about what ancient builders could do. The mountain wasn't just carved away like a quick demolition job. It was changed, shaped into one of the most striking masterpieces in history, leaving behind a monument that today still sparks wonder, admiration, and yes, respectful arguing among specialists across the world. Carving an entire mountain into a temple already sounds impossible. But the next civilization ignored mountains altogether and somehow built an entire city directly on top of the ocean. 4. Nan Madol. Scattered across a shallow coral reef off the eastern coast of Pohnpei in Micronesia lies one of the world's most unusual ancient cities. Nan Madol was not built on a mountain, a riverbank, or a natural island. Instead, it was constructed across nearly 100 small artificial islets linked together by narrow canals, creating a settlement that appears to float above the Pacific Ocean. Because of this remarkable layout, many people call it the Venice of the Pacific. Even today, its location continues to puzzle archaeologists. Building a large ceremonial center on top of a reef seems far more difficult than choosing solid ground nearby. Every wall, platform, and causeway had to withstand changing tides, salt water, and powerful ocean currents. Yet much of the city has survived for centuries. Researchers believe the builders carefully engineered the foundations by filling sections of the reef with coral and stone before raising massive walls above them. Even so, the decision to build such an ambitious complex in the middle of the sea remains one of Nan Madol's greatest mysteries. The city's most striking feature is its enormous basalt construction. Rather than using ordinary blocks, the builders stacked long, column-shaped basalt stones in crisscrossing layers, almost like giant logs. Some of these columns weigh several tons, and together they form walls that rise more than 20 feet high in places. The nearest known basalt sources are located elsewhere on Pohnpei, meaning the stones had to be transported across land or water before construction even began. Exactly how this was accomplished remains uncertain. Most archaeologists believe large groups of workers floated the stones on rafts or canoes, taking advantage of tides and careful planning. Others suggest the builders combined wooden supports, ropes, and human labor to move each column step by step. Local legends offer a very different explanation, claiming powerful sorcerers caused the stones to fly through the air using magic. While these stories reflect the island's rich traditions rather than historical evidence, they reveal just how extraordinary the achievement appeared even to later generations. Nan Madol was more than an impressive engineering project. It served as the ceremonial and political center of the Saudeleur dynasty, which ruled Pohnpei for centuries before eventually falling from power. The complex contained royal residences, tombs, temples, and special enclosures where important rituals were performed. Historical traditions suggest that ordinary people were forbidden from entering certain sacred sections reserved for rulers and priests. Archaeologists have uncovered burial sites and evidence of ceremonial activities, but many details remain unknown because written records from the period are extremely limited. The city's canals, massive walls, and isolated location continue to inspire questions about daily life, religious practices, and political authority. Although researchers have uncovered much about Nan Madol's history, its greatest secrets remain hidden among the coral, the stone, and the quiet waterways that still weave through this remarkable city above the sea, preserving an ancient mystery that refuses to fade. 3. Derinkuyu Underground. In 1963, a homeowner in central Turkey decided to renovate his house after noticing a draft coming through one of the basement walls. As he broke through the stone, he expected to find a small storage space or a natural cave. Instead, he uncovered a narrow passage leading into darkness. That unexpected discovery became the entrance to Derinkuyu, the largest underground city ever found. What began as a simple home repair quickly turned into one of archaeology's most astonishing discoveries. As experts explored farther, they realized the tunnels stretched through multiple levels beneath the surface. Rooms branched into other rooms, corridors descended deeper into the earth, and hidden chambers seemed to continue without end. Today, archaeologists know the city extends roughly 280 feet underground and contains enough space to shelter as many as 20,000 people, along with their animals, food supplies, and daily necessities. From above, the town appears perfectly ordinary. Beneath it lies an underground world unlike anything else ever uncovered. The deeper researchers ventured into Derinkuyu, the more impressive its engineering became. This was never a collection of random caves. It was a carefully planned city designed to support life for extended periods. Long ventilation shafts carried fresh air through multiple underground levels, allowing thousands of people to breathe even in the deepest chambers. Wells supplied clean water while helping reduce the risk of contamination from enemies above. Storage rooms held grain, oil, and other essentials needed during long stays underground. There were kitchens, wine presses, workshops, churches, gathering areas, and spaces believed to have served as schools where children could continue learning. Perhaps the most remarkable defensive feature was the series of enormous circular stone doors positioned throughout the tunnels. These heavy stones could be rolled across entrances from the inside, sealing passages against intruders while leaving only a small opening for defenders to observe or attack. Every corridor, chamber, and doorway reflects careful planning, focused on survival rather than comfort. One mystery still puzzles historians today. Who built the earliest parts of Derinkuyu? Many scholars believe the first chambers may have been carved by the ancient Phrygians during the early 1st millennium BC, taking advantage of the region's soft volcanic rock. Others argue that later civilizations, including the Byzantines, greatly expanded the city into the enormous refuge seen today. Evidence suggests it developed over centuries instead of appearing all at once. Another unanswered question concerns why people invested so much effort underground. Most researchers believe Derinkuyu served as a safe haven during periods of invasion, conflict, or religious persecution, allowing entire communities to disappear beneath the earth until danger passed. Yet the city's size suggests it was prepared for much longer stays than a temporary shelter would require. Whatever threats inspired its creation, Derinkuyu proves that ancient builders were capable of designing a hidden civilization beneath the ground, one so advanced that it remained concealed until a single broken basement wall revealed its remarkable existence to the modern world. 2. Pumapunku. High on the altiplano of western Bolivia, near the southern edge of Lake Titicaca, lies a ruined monument that continues to challenge assumptions about ancient engineering. Pumapunku, part of the larger Tiwanaku archaeological complex, does not impress visitors because of towering walls or complete buildings. Instead, its mystery lies in hundreds of carefully shaped stone blocks scattered across the ground. Among them are the famous H-shaped stones, carved with astonishing precision and remarkable consistency. Their clean edges, sharp internal corners, smooth surfaces, and symmetrical proportions have surprised engineers for decades. Some blocks look so alike that they almost resemble standardized building parts or something like that. When you look at them from far away, a lot of people assume they were carved using modern machines instead of ancient hand tools. Still, archaeological traces put their making more than 1,000 years ago, long before iron tools or powered equipment showed up in that part of the region. The stone accuracy keeps sparking arguments about the real level of skill and forethought reached by the Tiwanaku civilization. The precision of the stonework becomes even more staggering when researchers think about how the materials got to the site. A number of the huge sandstone blocks came from quarries several miles away, while some of the heavier, tougher andesite stones came from places set across Lake Titicaca. Also, multiple individual blocks weigh more than 100 tons, not just a little. Transporting such enormous stones across rugged terrain without wheeled vehicles, horses, or iron machinery represents one of the site's greatest engineering puzzles. Archaeologists believe workers likely relied on carefully organized labor, wooden sledges, ropes woven from local fibers, earthen ramps, and perhaps floating platforms to move certain stones across the lake. These methods are considered possible, but no single explanation has answered every question. The logistics would have required extraordinary planning, coordination, and persistence. Every stage, from quarrying to carving and final placement, demanded precision that still earns admiration from engineers studying ancient construction methods today. Because Pumapunku seems so advanced, it has ended up being wrapped in sensational stories about lost civilizations, strange technologies, and even people claiming they saw visitors from other worlds. You know, ideas like this show up a lot in books and television programs, but archaeologists keep saying there's no solid, credible evidence for any of it. When they do careful excavation, it looks like the site was built by the Tiwanaku civilization using methods that were available back then. Still, those methods were a lot more sophisticated than many folks once imagined. On the stone surfaces, you can actually see the marks, hammerstone impacts, abrasion, and then the slow, patient shaping rather than anything that feels like machine tools were involved. Researchers are still looking into how the builders measured and planned things, and how they put the whole arrangement together with that kind of consistent accuracy. They realize that ancient craftsmanship, honestly, can exceed what people expect from earlier studies or older assumptions. So instead of shrinking the mystery, the archaeological evidence mostly points toward skilled human work, with knowledge, strong organization, and accumulated experience. Even perfectly carved stone blocks are hard to explain. But the final place on this list wasn't assembled one piece at a time. It was carved straight into the earth, creating one of the most extraordinary sacred sites ever discovered. 1. Rock-hewn churches of Lalibela. Hidden among the rugged mountains of northern Ethiopia stands one of the most extraordinary religious sites ever created. Lalibela is home to 11 medieval churches, yet these buildings were never assembled from bricks or stacked stone. Instead, they were carved directly into embedded volcanic rock, transforming the landscape itself into a place of worship. Rather than building upward, craftsmen cut deep trenches into the earth until massive blocks of stone stood isolated from the surrounding ground. From there, they carved the exterior walls before hollowing out the interiors, creating churches that seemed to emerge naturally from the earth. When early European visitors first encountered Lalibela, many struggled to believe what they were seeing. The structures appeared too perfect, too unusual, and too ambitious to have been shaped entirely by human hands. Stories quickly spread that angels must have helped complete the work during the night, while laborers continued carving during the day. Although archaeology points to skilled medieval builders rather than supernatural forces, the astonishing scale of the accomplishment still leaves visitors speechless. The true brilliance of Lalibela becomes clear only after exploring beyond the rooftops. These churches are connected by an intricate network of narrow trenches, hidden tunnels, carved staircases, and passageways that guide visitors from one sacred space to another. Every path had to be planned before excavation began because removing the wrong section of stone could have destroyed the entire design. Engineers also incorporated drainage channels to carry rainwater safely away from the buildings, protecting the carved walls from erosion during Ethiopia's rainy seasons. Among all 11 churches, the most famous is the Church of St. George, known locally as Bete Georgis. Viewed from above, its roof forms a nearly perfect cross set deep within a square pit cut into the surrounding rock. The church appears almost invisible until visitors reach the edge and look down into the excavation. Inside, beautifully carved columns, arches, and chambers reveal the extraordinary craftsmanship achieved with simple tools and remarkable patience. Every detail reflects careful planning that continues to impress architects and archaeologists alike. Unlike many ancient monuments that only hang around as quiet remains, Lalibela stays a living place of belief. For centuries, priests, monks, and worshippers have kept showing up inside these churches for prayers, festivals, and religious ceremonies. Their first intention was never really given up, so Lalibela is now one of the rare ancient engineering wonders that still works pretty much the same way as it did hundreds of years ago. That steady, uninterrupted devotion has helped guard not only the structures themselves, but also the cultural and spiritual ways of being around them. Even now, archaeologists keep looking closely at the location, trying to grasp how it was built, the sequence of time, and the broader historical growth. Still, a lot of things stay unclear. How exactly thousands of people coordinated such a massive excavation with medieval tools is still argued about. And yet, what no one truly disputes is the bold, thoughtful plan behind the whole project. From massive stone platforms to churches carved into solid rock, these constructions challenge everything we thought ancient civilizations could achieve. Archaeology and modern technology have solved many mysteries, yet every discovery seems to reveal another unanswered question. Perhaps these monuments prove that ancient societies understood engineering far better than history once believed. If you enjoyed this journey, like the video, comment which site amazed you most, and subscribe. Then click the next video on your screen to uncover another mystery from the past.